Happy Tuesday morning. Today is Essential Money Talks, which I do every Tuesday at 11:30 Brisbane time. And today I'm going to interest. I've had a few people on and we've talked about their story. I've given some tips and great things that you can implement straight away. But I thought that today that I will tell you my financial story. Now, we all have financial stories. And that's how it is. But it doesn't always have to be how it was or in the past. Our financial stories are always evolving. And so I'm going to start by telling you the financial story of SHERRI, DUMBRELL. And I want you, as I'm talking about this, think about what is your financial story? And I would love to hear what your financial stories are. And feel free to, while we're doing this, to comment in this live I think you just click on the actual video and you can get into the comments and I'll be able to see those and communicate with you while we're doing this. And if you have any questions, put them down in the live. So it all started in 1965. My parents lived in Las Vegas. And on the 28th of December, 3 days after Christmas, yes, I know, not the greatest time to have a birthday, they had a jackpot. They hit the jackpot. They gave birth to Sherry Lynn Thompson. And so they were so excited to get this little girl. And so that's where my financial story was, is I was my parents' jackpot. And whenever they're not happy with me, I just remind them about that I was their jackpot. Growing up, so we lived in Vegas for just the first 5 years of our life. Don't really have any recollection of money back then. I was just a happy little, toddler, other than I got hit by a car out the side of our home at 18 months. And that probably cost my mom and dad a bit in money for medical bills and stuff. But other than that, life was good. And then we moved my dad got a job. He worked for the Weather Service and got a job in San Diego. So we moved to San Diego at 14121 Tarzana Road, Hawaii, California. And we had a beautiful neighborhood. Now, this is probably when it started to, money concepts came into my mind. There were some people on our street that had pools, and we didn't have a pool. So immediately I labeled myself and our family that we're poor, only because I figured anyone with a pool was rich. Now, isn't it funny how we, as a kid, think what constitutes being poor and what constitutes from being rich? And is there even such a thing? I remember going to elementary school, and some of my friends would regularly get school lunches. They would go to the cafeteria and get school lunches, where I would get my peanut butter and jam sandwich. And my favorite was tuna. I would get that. But yeah, I mean, my parents were great. My dad was a great provider and gave us everything that we needed and things we wanted as well. But of course, as kids, and we're always wanting to be noticed, I always thought, oh, but someone else had something more. And we would often go on holiday to Bunkerville, Nevada. That is where my grandparents lived. And I loved going to Bunkerville. I still love going to Bunkerville today. It just has a really close thing in my heart because I spent so many beautiful holidays at this little town in the desert by Vegas. But we never had any trips like going to Hawaii. In fact, I remember people who went to Hawaii on a holiday. Wow, they were really rich. And so, as you can see, I kind of was creating this kind of poor mentality as a child that I did. And And, you ask your parents, can we do this? Oh, we can't afford it. And I was so guilty. We've all been guilty of that. We say, oh, we can't afford it, but we never know how people react and how they label that to themselves. So I remember my first purchase. I must have got some money, and I had some money. I can't even remember. I think it was $30 or something, and I could go and buy something. And so we went to Kmart, and I wanted an album. I wanted to buy my first record album. And so I went, and there was two I was tossing up from. One was Elton John, Captain Fantastic. I remember, and I had to look earlier to see which one it was, but I remember the cover. It was a very busy cover. It was either that or it was Sound of Music. Well, I chose the Sound of Music because I loved music. I've continued to love music. And so that was my first purchase. The other purchases I made as a little kid was we would walk down to 7-Eleven and we would buy some candy. And, my mother would probably give us 20 cents or maybe 50 cents. Most of the time it's probably 20, but it's amazing how much money. Or even if I had 10 cents, we would go down there because candy was like a cent. There were candies that were a cent and candies that were 2 cents and then maybe a 5 cent, and a 10-cent one was like, and then the candy bars were 20 cents. And so I remember just the thrill of going and spending that money. I then got a job. My first job was McDonald's. And I probably ate more than as much as I spent on McDonald's that I actually made. Became a secretary, receptionist. Then I bought a car, worked at a pharmacist, and all this time with money, I basically spent every cent I had. I was not a saver. And as a teenager, I remember thinking, when I was dating, back then there was phones on the wall. We didn't have mobiles. There's phones on the wall. And we did have a family phone just out my bedroom with a very, very long cord. So at least I can go in and have some privacy in my room. But that wasn't good enough for me. I thought, hey, I'm rich. I have a job. So I got my own phone line into my bedroom. And I remember it was $80 a month, which now even horrifies me. There is no way I would pay. I've never paid $80 a month for a phone line, including a mobile. But that's and so I basically lived paycheck to paycheck. I then decided to go to university. I couldn't afford to go for a long time. I could only afford to go for a semester. And I sold my car and I went to BYU, Hawaii. And my spending money was $5 a week. So that's when I really started to learn, okay, we need to have some boundaries. Everything was paid for. I lived in the dorms, my food, cafeteria, everything was paid for. So I had allowed myself $5 a week. And I would, guess what? For those of you who know me, you'll know what I spent that on. I would go in twice a week, go and buy some ice cream. So a scoop was like $2.50. And so I would get ice cream. And so anyway, then after that, I ended up going on a mission for our church. And I hadn't really saved the money. And so I knew my parents had to do it. And so again, I thought, and depending on where you were sent in the world, you could just be sent anywhere. You didn't really have a choice. I wanted to go to the cheapest place because I felt bad that my parents were going to have to pay this monthly thing. And I wanted to go to Brazil because it was only $150 a month, where other areas were a lot more expensive. Well, I got called to England. That was the most expensive in the world. That was like $400 or something a month. But there again, I had a limited amount of money when I was there because I didn't work. I was doing missionary work full time. And so again, I learned how to live within my little means. After that, I met my husband. And after the mission, he flew me to Australia. He was Australian. And I came and we ended up getting married, which has been a great blessing. I came with debt. I had a $500 debt. So my parents gave us money. And so they gave me some money for it, and I had to give them $500 of it back to them to pay for my debt. I remember going shopping for the first time. My husband, I thought, I'm going to impress my new husband. I'm going to go do the shopping because we always did it together. And so I went to Woolworths, and I knew he liked sausages. So I bought some sausages, and I came home and I was so proud. And then he saw the price. It was $7.99 a kilo. Now, this is 35 years ago. They were generally 99 cents a kilo, and I had bought these. And so from then on, he kind of said, maybe we should go shopping together. So we knew we wanted to have a family, and we wanted to have a big family. And so we had to make a decision whether I would work or stay home. And of course, we chose to stay home. That was both of our decision. And so then we had our first child. And in Australia, we get money from the government, unless you make way, way too much, which we weren't in that bracket. And so we would get this money. And I think it was only like $30 for, it wasn't much at that time. But I remember us having that decision and talk saying, what are we going to do with this money? Are we going to depend on it and be entitled to this money? Or are we going to see this as extra money? And that's what we did, is we saw that as extra money. So we did not include that in our living expense. We wanted to live off what my husband made. And so we put that money away because we thought, what happens? And this was, in 1990, what if the government just crashes? Now, it hasn't yet, but that was something we wanted to be self-reliant. We didn't want to have to rely on the government and use that money that the government gave us to create a lifestyle that could just be gone overnight. And so that money we always just kind of put away and saved. When we first got married too, we did basically the envelope cash system. I remember my husband, he would get paid. He had this big book, which he had all these columns of all the different ways we needed to spend our money. He would go and get cash out, and he would have envelopes for each thing and write down and keep a record in his book. And I remember thinking, okay, this is different, different from the way my parents did it. And that's the thing, is when you do come together, you have two different ways of doing things, and you have to learn how to create your system that works best for you. We then built our first home. So my husband already owned a home that he was paying off when we got married. And we sold that, a loan that was called an overdraft loan. And we thought, they said, this is a really good one. You can pay your thing off soon. But the only problem is it was one account that had your mortgage and all your money and everything in it. It was one account. So you really had to be good to know when it said you have this much in your account, which was always a negative, but you had to know how much of your money was actually in there that you could spend for, your food and all these things. And so I had to find a system to figure out that, because that number that was there was not the number I could spend. So I found Microsoft Money that I used, and I used that to track basically every cent that we spent. Why? Why did I do that? Because I had a why. I had a why. I wanted us to be good with money. And it had all to do with my family back home. Of course, with the future family we were creating as well. But I wanted to be able to afford for me to go home and visit my family. So that was my why. And so just asking you, what is your why? Do you have a why you want to be better with money? Because if you don't have a why, then you're just going to continue to go the way you are. You're going to arrive at where you are going currently. But for me, I was raised, we never went on international trips. We went to Bunkerville, which was like a 6-hour drive in a car. And here I knew that I was going to have a life where I needed to be able to afford to go international. And so that was a really big motivation for me. But the type of loan that we had did not bring any clarity. I had to be really good with my money and tracking where all the stuff was and how much I could spend. And let me tell you, I got it wrong so many times. And I look back and think of thousands of dollars we overspent because there was no clarity in that type of bank account or that system. I was using Microsoft Money, which was a budgeting system. So basically, I was saying where I spent my money. It didn't really help me in where I wanted to spend my money or where I wanted to go. It was all about the past. And so when I was a young mom, some of my friends probably thought I was weird. I was very tight with my money. I didn't take the kids just to go get food because I didn't have the time or something to cook dinner. But that's because I had my why. I had such a strong why that I wasn't going to make these here and now choices, because I knew if I made these impulsive spends and all these little things that all add up, I knew I was going to procrastinate what I really wanted, or even eliminate it because of that. And so again, you have to have a why you want to do it. And it may be as simple as, I want to not stress over money. I lay awake at night thinking, where are we going to get the money? That in itself is a huge why that you would want to be better. So in 2003, I wanted to go as a family. Before then, I had only gone as myself or with my youngest child. And so I had that dream. I want all my family to go. We had 5 children at the time. The oldest was 12, the youngest was 18 months. And so we decided we're going to go home. And we saved. And let me tell you that it only took us probably 6 months to save. And the reason why is back to this decision that we made first off when we had our first child, when there was that child endowment, that we would just put that away. And so for 6 months, I just saved my child endowment. Now, having 5 kids and being one wage, we got kind of a lot of child endowment from the government. And so that as well as the Air New Zealand, was buy an adult fare, you got a child free. And so it worked out really well. So we went on this wonderful, wonderful trip for a month to the US and thought, wow, we want to do this again. But I knew that with our current budgeting system, it wasn't clear on how to help you do that. Like I said, it counted the past, where I spent my money in the past, but it didn't do much about how I can save and do things in the future. So when I got back, that's when I searched for another system. I found, I tried YNAB, you need a budget. That was better than what I was using. It kind of helped you plan forward, but it was quite time consuming. And it wasn't, it was user friendly, but on the other hand, but it is, out of all the budgeting ones I've used over the years, that is probably the better one, but it was still quite time consuming and didn't give me that 100% clarity I was looking for. So I found the spending plan. Back then it was simply budgets. And I thought, okay, I bought the CD and I tried that, and totally changed our financial confusion, stress. It gave me the truth. It showed me my money truth. Why is it different? Is because a budget is talking about income and expenses. Make this much, and then, and a spending plan does talk about income and expenses, but it focuses more on your expenses, because that we can control. Sometimes we can't control our income, okay? But it adds in that third missing vital dimension of timing, the timing of your income and your expenses. Then there's no more guessing like a budget. A budget, it has you guess, says, yes, it should work. Yep, it's possible you should be able to pay all your bills in the future, but it doesn't show you how, and it doesn't guarantee it. Where spending plan does, because you have that element of timing in it, you have all the correct calculations that will show you your future bank statement, literally your future bank statement of each year account. So it's like a crystal ball. And then it also shows you like that future bank statement. It's a GPS of exactly what you need to do. And so it's very easy to follow. And plus bank account structure is so important. I was so excited to get rid of that to pay off our home so that we could get a real bank account system. And all I wanted was an account besides, then we went on and got an investment, but I wanted an account for my weekly spending that once it went to zero, that's it. I wanted to see it get to zero. So then I knew what my limit was. And so that's what, with our new investment loan, that's how we set it up. That's how I learned how to more effectively protect my money from you and from me, because we have to have barriers, and each of my accounts have a specific purpose. And it covers all the 6 ways we spend our money, which is your weekly expenses. So that's my FFFI. All my regular predictable expenses, which is I call it my bills account, but there's more than just bills. There's birthdays and everything else in there. And then I have an emergency or a rainy day account, which I call the big bad wolf. And that I always have at least $2,000 in there for any of the unexpected, like I hit a kangaroo and I had damage to my air conditioner. Kangaroo doesn't have insurance. Okay, I had to find $1,000. I had that there. That was no problem. And then also the replacement of things that we have that we need. We have things in our home we need, and if they break down, we need. A fridge, we need a fridge. If our toilet blocks up, we need to get a plumber out. There's a lot of things that we have needs. We need transport. And so looking into the next 10 years, what do I need to replace? Let me have a plan now, as well as savings, things that we really want. And I have multiple different types of savings accounts for things I really want, but those other accounts are priority to make sure they're working well. And then there's an emergency account. If everything goes pear-shaped, my husband loses his job, what's the basic we can live on for 3 months? And money is there for that. So that it all brings peace of mind. And so it was such a great thing to find this system. And I used it for 17 years until the creator of it, David Wright, wanted to train people to teach others how to use it, because it was out of the box thinking. Budgeting is about the past. Spending plan is about thinking about the future. Budgeting is let's put a little bit away each week, and you have to do all the calculations and use the calculator a lot. And to a spending plan is no, what's just the full amount you need? The spending plan will calculate it all for you, and it ensures that all your things are covered. And so it was really liberating. We paid off our home in not too many years after that. So we got our loan paid off in about 13 years, our home loan. Then we went and we started to invest in another home. All this because of the spending plan, because it gave us clarity. We had a bank account structure that protected our money from us because no one else was going to steal it. Back then, there weren't money scams as there are today and people, skimming cards. We were the only ones that were going to sabotage our own plan. But we now have an effective bank structure that protects our money from you. And plus, I see the benefits of keeping to your plan. And so I have no desire to ever be dishonest and not follow our plan. So have we always followed our plan? No. I mean, none of us are perfect, but it's so quick and easy to get back into it. There's been some Christmases when the kids were young and I just totally overspent. And it would come to January and it's like, okay. But thank goodness for a spending plan. The past is the past, okay? Today's a new beginning. Let's just go in. It takes me as little as 5 to 10 minutes to restart that plan as of today. And let's just start planning the future because it's all about your successes in the future. Let's not dwell on the past. Let's start today and just make better choices on how we're going to spend our money in the future. And then be honest with ourselves and follow it. So all the anxiety I had with money, the unclarity, can I afford this? I was the one that would go out and buy it and then come home and have to figure out where we were going to get that money or which account does that go for, or, because we didn't plan for it. It was an impulsive spend. That has gone now because I have clear accounts and I plan for things. I think of things and I know, like, for example, after Christmas, the after Christmas specials, that's when I go shopping. Because one, it's my birthday. Number two, things are on special and a lot of things have price. And so that's when I know and I plan to have money for that. Okay. It's not, I don't put my head in the sand. I know it's coming. And so I have that in my plan. And my plan tells me right at, on the 26th of December, SHERRI, here's the money available. It's time to go shopping. Okay. When bills come, all our bills are automated because I know the money will be in that particular account, in our bills account, when that comes. So I can automate all my bills. I don't even know when my bills are paid. I do monitor my plan, which is like a 10-minute exercise once a month for us because we get paid monthly. But if you get paid weekly, you just go in and it doesn't take long because you've already planned where you're spending your money. It will just show you, ask you, did you spend that money? And you just make adjustments if you did more or less. So it's really easy. And it's a great way to then, it's a new beginning. Okay. Today's a new beginning. Let's continue to and you see 12 months in advance where you spend your money. So it has saved me so much time, thousands and thousands of dollars, if not even that, just even thinking of the money for interest. We've always planned, saved, and then spent. Now, again, not always. When we had before, when we did our budgeting days, we didn't, but with the spending plan, we now plan and save, which the spending planner does great. It does that for you basically. And then we happily spend. I'm a happy spender because I follow those money truths. I followed them in the correct order. So now in our mid-50s, I am still financially weird. Okay, like I said, some people thought I was financially weird and stingy when we were younger, but I choose to be weird. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be normal because normal people have debt, consumer debt, okay? And they keep taking money out on their mortgages because they just pay some off and then take it back out again for fun. A weird person pays off their mortgage. A weird person saves for the things that are coming in the future. A weird person saves before they spend. There is no self-entitlement that you deserve something now. If you don't have the money, then you don't buy it. And those are all things that I learned over the years, but a spending plan really helped and showed me my money truth because I could see 100% clarity what it cost me to live our lifestyle. But also I could put in there, I want to go on a holiday on this date. And it does all the count and says, okay, you can get there if you follow this new plan. So that's my financial story. It's continuing. We're 10 years off retirement. It always involving, but my spending plan, I originally created it 19 years ago, and all I've had to do is tweak it as we have less kids at home and the bills adjust and things like that. It's so easy. But I've never had to create a second spending plan. It's just an initial thing that you invest your time to create, and then it basically goes on autopilot, and you spend, like I said, as little as 10 minutes a paycheck to monitor it and to celebrate your wins. So I'd love to hear your financial story. Some of you may be really struggling with money and have that anxiety and stress about money. Others may be really good with money. You may have a system that you think, which is great. And I've worked with many who's loved their Excel worksheets. And then they saw the spending plan and thought, oh, I can recreate this in this Excel sheet. And then they would come back and say, no, it just goes so much further and so much user friendly so that their spouses could totally understand it. And so, yeah, there's lots of systems out there. There's lots of information. There's The Barefoot Investor, a great book. but it's the thing where you just give, it's information, and some people can eat it up. Other people's need that support. And that's what I do now is I give support to help people create their spending plan. I give old-fashioned support to help you create and walk through the steps with you and help you live your plan so that you can become totally self-reliant in your own finances. And then I also offer accountability if that's something that people need. So look at your current system. Is it giving you 100% clarity? Is it giving you hope for the future? Is it allowing you to achieve the things you really want to do? Because a spending plan helped us resurrect our buried dreams, and that was to go as a family. In fact, we did 2 years ago. We went to the States as all adults with young children, and we all went to the States because we all had a spending plan. And so dreams are there to be taken, but you have to plan for them and save for them, and the spending plan system is perfect for that. So that's my story. If you want, I would love to hear your story. Feel free. Anyone is available to book in a free session with me, and I would love to hear your story and give you some free tips on what you can do to even have an effective bank structure to protect your money from you, so that you can have your money for the things that you really want rather than the things that you think you need here and now. So this is the end of the Essential Money Talks for today. We will see you next week again for another topic. And so please check out my Facebook group, Happy Spenders Beyond Budgeting. I also have a business page, Essential Spending Planner. They have lots of reviews and just lots of tips and things of how you can become better and achieve the most that you can, because money makes the world go round, or it makes it go in pear-shaped. And we want your world to go round and to enjoy all the beautiful things that we are. Money is a vehicle for us to have joy. It is not there to bring us stress. Okay, we'll see you next week, and choose financial freedom today.